Stories from entitled people. Stories about people who think the rules don't apply to them and they should get what they want. Story 1. From you/deleted. Girlfriend's parents decide to visit to avoid the storm in their state. Demand to use my car and get master suite instead of the guest room. My girlfriend and I have been together nearly 2.5 years, and in that time, her parents have always been cold towards me. They live in the Midwest and are of the opinion that California is a cesspool and Los Angeles, where I live, even more so. They decided that with an incoming snowstorm, that staying with us so close to the ocean would be better for them. I got home from work yesterday to her parents taking a nap in the master bedroom, and were not happy when I kicked them out to the guest bedroom. We went out for dinner Friday night, and they not happy with the quality, remarking that they preferred Taco Bell or Chipotle. I just tuned out the rest of the night. This morning, after waking up, they asked me to use my car for them independently visiting tourist spots. I drive a modified Ford Focus RS. I'm not handing these people a 500 horsepower car, especially as neither of them have driven a stick shift in over 30 years. I told them this and offered to rent them a car as I get good rates through my employer. Nope, not only was that not acceptable, they didn't want my Focus to drive, they wanted to drive my 1967 Pontiac GTO. They said it's their dream to drive a classic convertible up PCH to see the sights. Never mind the fact that PCH is practically burnt to a crisp until you get past Malibu. That was a hard no from me, and they reluctantly took the Camry I rented for them. This is going to be a really long 10 days. Story 2 by you/GentPC. So I live in an area that gets a lot of snow, and since I recently retired, I decided to graduate from shoveling my driveway and bought myself a snowblower. I get up early whenever we get some snowfall and clear my driveway, and, time permitting, the driveways of the neighbors on either side of me, one a fellow retiree and the other a widowed. A few days ago we got dumped on, so I did my driveway and my neighbors, put the blower away, and decided to binge some Sopranos. Just as I was settling, there was a knock on my door, and when I answered, there stood Karen. Karen and her husband moved into the neighborhood a few months ago, but are 5 doors down from me. I opened the door to be met with, "Why haven't you done our driveway yet? We're going to be late for work. I saw you finish the other 2. It suddenly dawned on me she expected me to clear her driveway as well. I calmly explained that I do the other 2 driveways as a kindness for the people on either side of me. She retorted with, "We're your neighbors too," and stayed there. I realized she had no intention of leaving, so, without skipping a beat, I closed my door, locked it, and went back to my lazy boy. Story 3 by you/Vizance. Entitled Client learns that professionals can in fact walk away. I work as an engineer. I do some consulting on the side, but typically only for people I know and as a favor. A good friend asked me to help his in-laws who were doing some fairly massive renovations/additions. I agreed solely because he asked me to. This is not something I have any interest or need in doing except as a favor. It's an old house and had "can of worms" written all over it with some of the changes they wanted to do. Now he warned me that the MIL can be unpleasant, but that was an understatement. She seemed to think that because I was being paid, I charged probably January 10th what a business would, that she could snap her fingers at me like a servant. I had a few unpleasant emails with her, but it was tolerable. She was rude when I was pointing out issues with their plans, but nothing too extreme. That changed when I started trying to find a time for me to stop by and inspect a few areas of the house to verify some information. I offered times to stop by on the weekend, but that didn't work for her. Tried evening times, still a no. Nope. She wanted me to stop by during my office work hours because that was best for her. When I told her no, this gets done on the weekends or in the evening, she went from rude to incredibly hostile, telling me that she is paying me, LOL, and that I work with her availability, not the other way around. CC'd my friend in on the chain, told them I was out and to have fun working with whoever they get. Friend apologized. I said no worries, not my problem anymore. She emailed back, quite stunned that I was walking away, telling me that it's not how business is conducted. I didn't bother responding. About 3 weeks later, I get an email from the husband now asking me if I would reconsider, and he promises that his wife won't speak to me or be involved in any way. That changed when I started trying to find a time for me to stop by and inspect a few areas of the house to verify some information. I offered times to stop by on the weekend, but that didn't work for her. Tried evening times, still a no. Nope. She wanted me to stop by during my office work hours because that was best for her. When I told her no, this gets done on the weekends or in the evening, she went from rude to incredibly hostile, telling me that she is paying me, LOL, and that I work with her availability, not the other way around. CC'd my friend in on the chain, told them I was out, and to have fun working with whoever they get. Friend apologized. I said no worries, not my problem anymore. She emailed back, quite stunned that I was walking away, telling me that it's not how business is conducted. I didn't bother responding. About 3 weeks later, I get an email from the husband now asking me if I would reconsider, and he promises that his wife won't speak to me or be involved in any way. Story 4 by you/traditional girl sign. Coworker told HR I was being exclusive for not inviting her to my wedding. This was honestly one of the weirdest work things I've ever dealt with. There's a woman in my office I'm friendly with, but not close to. We've had small talk here and there, nothing deep. No lunches together. No real outside of work connection. She found out I was getting married and asked when the wedding was. Then she straight up asked if she was invited. I kinda laughed and said, "Oh no, it's really small. Just close friends and family." I didn't think anything of it. She got quiet and a little cold after that, but I figured okay, maybe awkward moment, whatever. Fast forward a few days later, I get a meeting invite from HR. Turns out she filed a complaint saying I was being exclusive and creating a hostile environment by leaving people out because I didn't invite her to my wedding that I'm paying for. That isn't even work-related. So I had to sit in this HR meeting and explain that I'm not required to invite coworkers I barely know to my literal wedding, that it's a personal event, that it has nothing to do with work or who's in the office. HR honestly looked just as confused as I was. They basically said, "Yep, okay, thanks," and closed the case. But now she acts super passive-aggressive toward me, like side eyes, little digs when I walk by, still bringing it up in these weird sarcastic comments like, "Some people are so inclusive these days." I can't believe she actually thought HR could, what, make me invite her? Story 5 by you/OK combination 475. Ex so entitled she thinks I should be paying bills for her and the guy she cheated with. Found out my girlfriend of 11 years was cheating me with an unemployed dude, of all people. I'm not rich, but I provided her a good lifestyle. Paid most of her bills. Provided a nice place. Nails and hair done regularly. Dates every weekend. Couple vacations a year. She got used to that lifestyle and wanted to keep living it despite cheating with a broke dude. She didn't admit to the cheating. I caught on to it. Once it was clear I was done with her, the entitlement really started to show. She said because I had family in the area and she didn't, I should move out, but continue paying the bills to give her and the new guy a chance to get on their feet. She also insisted on keeping my dogs, told me I could only see my own dogs if I asked the new guy. But since they didn't have any money, I needed to continue paying for food and vet bills. Instead, I kicked her out and kept my dogs. At that point, she was angry and still felt entitled to my income. After I kicked her out of my place, she claimed she was forced to quit her job because I forced her to relocate. And then she tried to sue me for lost wages, which didn't work out in her favor. You'd think she'd stop at this point, but she didn't. She contacted my work and threatened to sue them, stating, "Your employees' actions cost me everything," and tried to insist they settle outside of court with her for $100,000. She didn't make that much money. Instead, my work filed harassment charges against her. You'd think she'd stop at that point, but she didn't. She started messaging every family member of mine that she could find, told them I cost her everything out of spite just because she moved on with someone else, and that the least they could do is send her money to help her get a place and pay rent. When that didn't work, she went online and begged for people to send money to her Cash App to help her with a place to live, and claimed it was a domestic violence situation. I don't understand how she doesn't understand that any financial support I gave her would end if she cheated on me. We weren't married. We don't have kids. I've supported her for years. I owe her nothing. I really don't owe it to her to help her and her new relationship get on their feet and establish themselves, which seems to come as a shock to her. Story 6 by you/universal cognition. Entitled guy tries to convince my wife to let him break my office rules. I let some people use the meeting room in my office for their business meetings in the evenings for a couple of weeks. It was an MLM group my friend was a part of. I told my friend they couldn't use the Wi-Fi for security reasons. My wife works for me, and she stayed at the office while the people were there one evening. This guy who I've never met comes up to her with a cocky, entitled attitude and said, I need the Wi-Fi password. Give it to me. She told him he can't have it. He responded, your boss, insert my name here, said we could have it. You know him, right? I don't want to have to call him and get you in trouble for not giving me the password. My wife's response, yes, I know him. I sleep in the same bed with him every night. Go ahead and call him. Let's see how that conversation goes. The guy scurried off with his tail between his legs. Story 7 by you/Old Wishbone 5101. My friend said I owe her half my inheritance because her family didn't have that. So my great-aunt passed away and left me a decent inheritance. Nothing wild, but enough to pay off my student loans and set aside a little savings. I told my friend, we'll call her Rachel, over lunch. She got quiet. Then she said, wow, must be nice. I bet you'll help out your friends who weren't so lucky growing up. I laughed and said something like, I mean, I'll probably treat my friends to dinner more often. She stared at me and said dead serious. No, like, actually help. We've known each other forever. I think it'd be fair if you split it. I thought she was joking. She was not. She then brought up all the times she covered my coffee in college and said, this is just the universe evening the score. Needless to say, I didn't share a dime. She blocked me on Instagram and told our mutual friends I ghosted her after I got rich. Sorry, Rachel. The only thing I'm splitting is the check, with people who actually support me. Story 8 by you/Seraphim Sphinx. Karen let the toddlers out. Shocked she is banned. Our town has a children's museum. It's cute, full of activities from baby through 9 or so. The baby and toddler areas have gates that latch for obvious reasons. Well, Karen decided she would use authority to have her toddler leave. So she opens the toddler gate and tells her child it's time to leave now. Well, her kid doesn't move and clearly wants to stay and play. Instead of closing the gate, retrieving the toddler, and going on with life, Karen decided to hold the gate open and start demanding her toddler listen. So of course other toddlers book it out, and Karen continues to hold the gate open and does nothing to prevent this, and just keeps yelling at her kid. Instant chaos as parents and a grandparent scramble out to catch the escaped tots. Toddlers are running to open elevators, to balconies, into the manager's office, and my child was booking it towards the stairs. I am about to catch her when she ducks into the art room, messy but safe, and I notice a toddler nearly to the stair landing, which are 2-story and stone. Glance quickly and see Grandma going as fast as she can, but nowhere near fast enough, so I leave my kid to her painty fate and snatch up Darius and deliver him to a grateful grandma. I hear a dad say close the gate as he has one twin in surfboard meltdown, and another has just booked it out of the gate towards me and the paint room. This Karen then yells at him that it's not her job to watch his kids, she's got 3 kids of her own to handle. She is still holding open the gate. I'm acting as a shepherd of sorts between the toddlers and the stairs. Paint is everywhere with unsupervised tots not wearing their paint-proof smocks going hog wild. Apparently my daughter's favorite color is yellow. With this sudden chaos, a manager came to see what was happening, and 2 dads point to Karen, who finally picked up her child and shut the gate. Karen then tells the manager how she felt unsafe because the dad who yelled closed the gate, and demands action. By then I head over yellow gremlin in arms as all the tots are corralled, and me and Grandma back up the dads and say how irresponsible her behavior was. Karen then launches into a tirade about how it's not her job to watch all of our children. The manager tells her she is banned, and she starts screaming so security gather her and her 3 kids and march them out. I feel bad for her children, but honestly, girl, how entitled do you have to be? A simple, I'm sorry I froze when the kids ran out. I wasn't thinking straight. Literally anything, but SHE wanted to act like SHE was a victim of unsafe after releasing half a dozen toddlers into dangerous situations. Edit to add, I've had a few women named Karen reach out to me and explain the vitriol they have experienced just for having that name. From doctors to waiters to complete strangers, they are instantly maligned. I believe the stories of the women reaching out to me so personally. I am done using Karen as a shorthand for an entitled person behaving poorly and demanding a manager. That was our /entitled people. If you like this content and want to see more, consider subscribing, and I hope to see you in the next one out.